This video was intended to train healthcare workers and provide them with practical information about the dengue virus and accurate use of Bioline dengue NS1 antigen antibody combo rapid test. Dengue virus infections are amongst the most common arthropod-borne infections in tropical and subtropical areas. There are 4 dengue serotypes. Dengue 1, Dengue 2, Dengue 3 and Dengue 4 are transmitted by several mosquito species, including Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. The majority of dengue virus infections are asymptomatic or mild dengue fever, characterized by flu-like symptoms including fever, chills and headaches. However, in some cases, the infection may lead to more severe dengue hemorrhagic fever, with plasma leakage, and lethal dengue shock syndrome may follow DHF after circulatory collapse. The geographical areas in which dengue transmission occurs have expanded in recent years, and all 4 dengue virus serotypes, dengue 1, 2, 3 and 4, are now circulating in Asia, Africa and the Americas, a dramatically different scenario from that which prevailed 20 or 30 years ago. About 1.8 billion, more than 70% of the population at risk from dengue worldwide, live in member states of the WHO Southeast Asia region and Western Pacific region, which bear nearly 75% of the current global disease burden due to dengue. Laboratory diagnosis of dengue infection. Virus isolation provides the most convincing evidence of infection, but facilities for culture are not always available. Detection of virus-specific RNA by nucleic acid amplification methods such as polymerase chain reaction provides accurate diagnosis but requires expensive reagents and equipment, laboratory infrastructure and well-trained staff. Serological assays that can detect virus-specific immunoglobulin M or immunoglobulin G antibodies to dengue virus are widely available, such as ELISA, HI and rapid test. However, antibody assay cannot be used for early diagnosis. In order to diagnose the early clinical phase, serological NS1 antigen tests are recommended as NS1 antigen is present at high concentrations in the sera of dengue virus infected patients. Typical dengue immune response. The virus passes from the mosquito intestinal tract to the salivary glands after an extrinsic incubation period, a process that takes approximately 7 to 10 days. The NS1 is a highly conserved glycoprotein that is present at high concentrations in sera of dengue-infected patients during the early clinical phase in acute infection stage, and is found from day 1 up to day 9 after the onset of fever. The immune system starts to produce antibodies against dengue virus infection in convalescent stage. Generally, IgM antibodies will be produced first, and IgG will be followed. This immune response must be considered in the context of primary versus secondary dengue infections. The Bioline dengue duo rapid test is designed to detect both dengue virus NS1 antigen and differential IgG-IgM antibodies to dengue virus. dengue NS1 antigen could be useful for early acute phase samples from day 1 to 5. An IgG-IgM antibody test was designed to detect antibodies appearing in the convalescence phase after day 5 to 14. Main purpose of duo tests is the simultaneous detection of dengue NS1 antigen and IgG-IgM antibody together, not separately. In immune response to primary infection, NS1 antigen is produced from day 1 after onset of fever and up to day 9. And typically, primary infections have a stronger and more specific IgM response. In secondary immune response, graph shows that IgG rises dramatically within 1 to 2 days after onset of symptoms, simultaneously with IgM antibodies. Therefore, patients with secondary infections will have a positive IgG result usually, but not always with a positive IgM result. What is the effect of the sample timing on the sensitivity of the assay? In the early phases of infection, higher positivity for the detection of NS1 antigen was demonstrated, and the IgM antibodies showed a gradual increase in positivity with days of fever. Therefore, combining the NS1 IgM IgG parameters demonstrated consistently high sensitivity across the temporal spectrum of sample collection. SD-Dengue Duo is the first product in the world. Diagnosis of dengue NS1 antigen even during window period. Compensate for the weak point of antigen single test. Fast test result. Results will come out in 15 to 20 minutes. Convenient storage condition, 1 to 30 degrees Celsius. SD Bioline Dengue Duo Rapid Test is easy to use. The materials included in the kit are test pouch, buffer, disposable dropper, capillary pipette, package insert. These materials should be prepared before starting the test. New unopened test pouch. New disposable capillary pipette 10 microliters for dengue IgG IgM test. New disposable dropper for dengue NS1 antigen test. Buffer. New disposable gloves. Timer. All test materials must be used immediately once opened. Let's begin the test. Check the expiry date on the back side of the test pouch. If expiry date has passed, use another kit. Put on the gloves. Remember, use new gloves for each patient. Remove the test device from the foil pouch and place it on a flat, dry surface. Write the patient's name on the test. For NS1 testing, using disposable dropper provided, take serum or plasma sample from collection tube containing anticoagulants such as heparin, EDTA and sodium citrate, and add 3 drops of serum or plasma into the sample well marked S. 1, 2, 3. At the same time, using the capillary pipette, take the sample from the collection tube containing anticoagulants such as heparin, EDTA and sodium citrate. And add 10 microliters of serum or plasma into the sample well for antibody test. And put 4 drops of assay diluent into the round-shaped assay diluent well. One, 2, 3, 4. As the test begins to work, you will see purple color move across the result window in the center of the test device. Interpret test results after 15 to 20 minutes. Do not read test results after 20 minutes. Reading too late can give false results. Only one line C on result window means negative. NS1 antigen positive, this would be indicative of acute stage of dengue infection. NS1 antigen and IgM antibody positive, this would be indicative of acute stage of dengue infection. Positive of IgM antibody to dengue virus would be indicative of a primary dengue infection. Positive of IgG antibodies would be indicative of secondary or past dengue infection. Positive for both IgM and IgG antibodies would be indicative of a late primary or early secondary dengue infection. The control line fails to appear. Insufficient specimen volume or incorrect procedural techniques are the most likely reasons for control line failure. Repeat the test using a new test device. Dispose of test materials such as test device, gloves, desiccant and packaging in a non-sharps waste container. Each test can be used once. Now remember, do not try to use the test more than once. When you have a problem with your test, it could be solved by the following. Check specimen integrity for evidence of bacteria contamination, hemolysis, and lipidic substances. Verify labeling, paperwork, and procedures. Have the same technologist retest the specimen. Repeat testing blindly by another technologist. Repeat on reference test blindly. Repeat at different laboratory or reference laboratory. Determine true status by other assays. Recheck equipment and reagents.